in order to know peace, we have to wars. We have to experience war. So in order to experience, to appreciate something, we have to know the opposite.
Yes. Yes.
That is so at first in the soul there was no negativity. That was lacking. What was lacking was the negativity, the pairs of opposite. There was only love, if you want, but no opposite of love. I don't know.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. This the Vietnamese monk, late monk Thich Nhat Hanh, he says a very beautiful thing. If you want to suffer, suffer like a Buddha, right? If you want to suffer, suffer like a Buddha. So Buddha accepts the suffering without making it personal, right? Buddha totally accepts the suffering. And it is whether we like it or not, it is true that without experiencing suffering, nobody has ever gained any insight in life.
Yeah,
Behind every insight, every spiritual wisdom, there is suffering. So once, we are accept. Now, it does not mean that, if one is in a circumstance where one is, let's say in a difficult situation, that one should not act on it. Now, this message is not saying that you have to bear the suffering. You do from your end, do everything you can to comfort yourself and to bring yourself out of that. But at the same time, accept that despite all you're doing, despite everything, still you may suffer, despite everything.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
when that kind of acceptance comes in, then all of a sudden there is a sense of relief. There is a sense of
yeah,
detachment. Yeah, there is a sense
yeah,
of detachment, because what
yeah,
happened was earlier it was this me who was propagating this idea that, you know, that the suffering is mine. I am suffering. Now, once the acceptance happens, the me drops away. So, what remains is the total vision. Now, in the total vision, there is only the sensation, there is only the suffering, but there is no me suffering. So, obviously, the relief comes, and slowly the suffering also subsides. So, yes, you are quite right in that sense that one has to experience the opposite. Without that, it is quite difficult.
one thing, when I was 25,
Yeah.
I started when I was 25, now I am 63. But when I started seriously the spiritual path at 25 years,
Hmm.
this question of free will
Yeah.
was going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And until now, maybe today we can
Yeah.
finalize it.
Yeah.
So my understanding of free will is the question, do I have free will? Cannot be answered because the I itself has to be discussed. What do we mean by I in the
Yeah.
first place?
Right.
Only then we can give an answer.
True.
Because because they say yes and no. Do you have free will? Do I have free will? The teachers say yes and no. So this yes and no for me is it depends on the definition of the I.
Yes.
If I take I to be the individual self, then I have no free will. Whereas the sage, for him, the I is the same as the source. He is one with the source.
Yeah.
So we can say he has free will, but his free will is not different from the free will of the source. It is the same free will.
It is true. It is true. It is true. So again, it is the limited entity, the limited object, trying to make sense of the cosmic law, trying to make sense of God's will. So my concept is simple on this, that of course, when there is no me, Where is the question of whose free will are we talking about? But
Yeah.
at the same time, it does not, uh, I would say this. Now, there's a line by Ramesh Balsekar that the created object cannot know the will of the creator source. This is where the confusion is at peak, because we think that we know the will of the source, and this is where majority of confusion comes from. So when it is a question of whether I should act on a particular thing, because if there is no free will, then what's my point of acting on anything? That is again an assumption. That I must not act is an assumption by the created object, by the individual, that I know the source, the will of the source. And the answer is simple, that whatever you think in the moment you should do that. Whatever you think is right in the moment, according to your current concept, whatever conditioning you have received up to now, v- based on that, take an action. But after that, your free will ends, because that is the only free will that the created object, me, has, is that it can take action, whatever action it wants, right? But what the outcome will be is never in the me's control.
But even then, it is not the individual free will, it is an
Yes.
apparent free will.
Yes. Yes. It
Because
is.
in fact, the individual believes he has a free will to do certain action,
Yes.
but in fact, it is a source which is
Of
making
course.
him act in this way.
Of course. Of course. So this is a
Like,
little discount. This is a little discount which the masters give to the individual.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. So once we have, once it is understood that there is no me, there is no I, right? Then there is no question of anybody's free will. Then it is,
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
course, then it is, of course, then it is understood. Now with that understanding, when one moves in the world, then our actions are spontaneous. Then we just act, right, based on whatever knowledge we have. There is no question of right action or wrong action in that context, because every action comes from the source. Every action is of the
So,
source.